Hey class, welcome to Module 3. I'm going to go through and try to give you some pointers and just what to expect for Module 3. You see we have the readings for the chapters. Let's see, I think chapter 5 is what we're on, yeah. On the discussion engagement, just I guess what I would say is, don't overlook these points. 18 points can really help your grade, especially if you're struggling in other areas. That can really be a benefit to you. The quiz is in chapter 5. We have a QuickBooks on Friday, and we have Engage Now. Now the quiz is pretty easy. It's due on Wednesday. It requires you to read early, which is a good thing. Kind of spreads your work out. Let's look at that real quick. I like to use Vital Source as my method for viewing the book, and I think it's easy to move around. So if you go to chapter 5, you can just go right down and click on multiple choice. We can see the questions here. All I care for is if, to make it simple for you. You don't have to restate anything. You don't have to write an explanation for the multiple choice. I know you already have a lot on your plate. Just put the question number and A, B, C, or D. Make sure you're answering the same questions as me so you can see them here. I'm not going to say much about the Engage Now assignment. Again, it's due on Sunday for chapter 5. So just kind of stay up with those Engage Now assignments and make sure that you're checking that they flow through to our Canvas course. I'll spend the most time on the QuickBooks. So let's look at that. It's due Friday. So for QuickBooks this week, you have to do chapter 4 and 5. Looking at chapter 5, you need your trial balance. When you run your trial balance to look like this. This is the main thing I'm going to be looking for grading. You need to run a trial balance and a transaction report. Now you don't need to print them out or anything like that. What you need to do is provide it to me, using Excel, and tells you the name and convention that they want you to use. So it says export your trial balance to Excel, export your transaction detail to Excel. So when you submit those two things to me, this is what I'm going to look at to make sure your trial balance is right. Now if your trial balance is right, then your transaction detail is going to be right too, because that's feeding into your trial balance. If your trial balance is not exactly like this from chapter 5, that's make sure that your trial balance worked for chapter 3, make sure it worked for chapter 4, because every chapter those balances are getting used in the next chapter. So if your checking balance wasn't correct for chapter 3, it's not going to be correct for chapter 5. So you have to get these correct each week. What I would suggest you do is go through both chapter 4 and 5 and actually work through, everything that the authors work through using the practice test drive area that they provide you before you go into case 1 and start doing this homework. It will really help you to understand what they're looking for. Then if you follow all these instructions, very carefully, you'll, everything should work out for you. And there's a couple of things that maybe you might want to keep in mind. For example, you may have to set up a new account called undeposited funds and make sure that account name undeposited funds goes into undeposited funds account. So we can look at that real quick. Here, for example, it's undeposited funds of 5,000. Using your trial balance, you can drill down into these accounts, and you can see, the details of what went into that, what went into that area for your trial balance. Let's look at the chart of accounts. We can see the undeposited funds area. The undeposited funds account is named undeposited funds, and it goes into the account undeposited funds. So if you look at the account, it's an other current asset. There's a detailed type undeposited funds, and we name the undeposited funds. if you get this wrong, and the account, where you're going to put the account, it's going to show up on the trial balance in the wrong place. So that's one thing you can do to make sure things are showing up in the right place. Another thing is to make sure that you are getting all the transactions when they, that are part of a vendor or part of a customer. For example, it says pay all bills due to Channel Islands. Now, it doesn't tell you the amount it should be, because if you've done everything you're supposed to, it should come to $9,600. So there's a little tip for you. Channel Islands should be a payment of $9,600. If you don't select everything that was associated with Channel Islands, or you put something in incorrectly before and Channel Islands doesn't have $9,600 due them, then you're going to have it's going to flow through into the trial balance. I guess the only other thing I want to show you in QuickBooks was when you look in the book, it says category, or it says account detail or count, and they've changed that to category. They actually mention that in the textbook. You'll notice here in this box, it says that now that the word account has been changed to category. Again, QuickBooks can make changes overnight, so the textbook authors can't. So, if they make any new changes, they won't even have this box. So just keep that in mind. If they don't tell you to do something, if they don't tell you to check a box or whatever, whether it's taxable or something, then just don't worry about it. Just ignore that part and move on. They would tell you if they needed you to know. I think that's about it for today. Have a nice week.